What does world-class real estate look like to you?
Try to combine old-fashioned traditional estate agent values, but with all the modern tech that can help you move that forward.
Excellent communication is at the heart of what they do.
Great real estate looks like strong leadership.
Consistency.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Iceberg Digital. Hello and welcome to another episode of the World Class Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by Iceberg Digital. I'm Mark Worrell, and today I am with Ian Macbeth. We are recording face-to-face once again in Coventry. An exciting day ahead.
Yeah. We've just changed the whole boardroom layout in here to make it look more like a podcast. We have a room that is probably 3 times the size that we need, but yeah, it's a bit chilly. So we're going to get stuck straight into the good stuff. We've got 4 guests today as well, which is brilliant. So looking forward to some great value for the listeners and the watchers.
Yeah, so this episode will come out in series. We're getting organised before the summer holidays kick in. How have you found the market recently? Is that summer lull coming, or are you seeing decent levels of activity?
I think listings phenomenal.
Yeah.
Pretty much like shooting fish in a barrel from a listing perspective at the moment. You're just picking the right stuff, the right price, the right fees.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. In terms of sales, I think the pipeline's now growing back up, which is really strong. I think it's going to be, from what I can see, a good quarter of exchange and banking as well.
Yeah.
I was at a conference, I was at the Kerfuffle conference last week, and speaking to a couple of people, they kind of feel the same. It's almost like we've had this monstrous Q1, and we could have a really strong year of quite a few good banking quarters as well.
I keep saying to people, I don't feel like we're going to break any records this year. We're probably not going to have a terrible year. We're probably not going to have an awesome year. But actually, we are now in a period where we are probably going to get quite a lot of money out of the pipeline. We've had not a great Q2. Q1, you had the stamp duty and what have you, and it feels like conveyancing has been a real slug within our business in Q2. I've spoken to some of our conveyancing partners about it as well, and they said that they think one of the reasons is that nobody took any time off Q1. Mm-hmm. So when Q2 started, not only had the sales that were agreed in late February or March not had any work done, solicitors then went on holiday for a little bit. So maybe there's a bit of that coming out, hopefully, in this quarter. And then, obviously, as we've said many times, what we sell over the next 6-8 weeks is going to determine where we finish from the year. And our sales have been good, although we are a little bit up and down week to week. Our valuations have dropped off a little bit, which is a concern for us. But I think I said last week on the podcast, actually, whilst our vals have dropped off, our conversion's gone, significantly up, and I'd much rather have it that way, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think talking leads and talking, forecasting the second half of the year, but how do we get more leads into the business, more quality into the business? We've got James on today, and James is phenomenal when it comes to like Instagram lead generation. He's marketing minded as well, so he's not got a background of being an estate agent that's defaulted into something else. He just purely looks at social media marketing channels as how do you build more brand awareness, and then how do you leverage that to create more leads. He's got a really cool bit of kit that he's going to be launching in September as well, which we probably won't talk about too much on the podcast, but he might bring it up at the end. But yeah, really, really intelligent guy when it comes to all things lead generating from social media. So yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
And I think it offers the perspective to get the insight of a specific social media expert, and sometimes just looking outside the industry that we're in. If we keep doing what we're doing and we do what other estate agents do, then we're not going to progress. So I think James will provide us with a little bit of insight into what's happening in social media. And obviously, if you haven't seen his ads on social, then you've probably not been anywhere, because he's all over that. Should we dive in and get him on?
Yeah, get your notepads ready. Let's go. James, thanks for joining us face to face today. How are you, bud?
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us. We'll start as we always do, James. What does world-class real estate look like to you?
So to me, I've never been an estate agent before. I'm always been heavily based on sales and marketing. But I think that, maybe 10% of what's out there with estate agents and being proactive with their service, especially with their marketing on social media, which is a lot of what I do. I think there's maybe 10% of it out there looks world-class, and maybe 90% of it that a lot of it is the same kind of stuff that's been going around for a very long time. I always noticed that 6 or 7 years ago when I stepped into this industry, and it's still 6 or 7 years later, very much the same kind of tactics, the same marketing, the same sales strategies that weren't working that well from what I could see when I first started this. So I'd say the 10% out there that's like progressive and moving forward is probably world class to me in terms of real estate. and maybe the 90% of it. But that's what you get in a lot of things in business and just in stuff as well. So
what does that what's the world class 10% look like then?
I would say in terms of your marketing strategies with your properties, pre-launching it to social media, to your database, making sure you've got as wide a reach as possible marketing-wise. You're doing everything you need to on social media, content-wise. Your Google profile is there. Of course, you're still using the portals, but not dependent on them. You've got a great back-end system inside of your business. And in terms of your sales and pricing strategies and being an estate agent, vendor care, making sure you're constantly communicating with your vendors, ensuring you've got processes in place like an open house day, for example, and being able to get the best price of the property, create competition between buyers. To me, that's what world class looks like inside of a estate agency.
Yeah, the bit about kind of not being reliant on portals is interesting because it's something that I'm quite passionate about. We've had Sean on the show, haven't we, talking about, how Rightmove is. There's a lot of press-related articles rumouring a potential sale acquisition of Rightmove at the moment, which is scary for agents because it means if someone acquires it, typically it means the prices are going to probably be looked at straight away.
It's changing it.
So my view is Rightmove plays an important part to the estate agent.
It does,
but
yeah,
it's our job to do something before. And I know that's a big part of your belief as well, is the pre-portal marketing. So let's just sort of touch on that as well. What's your hacks and belief and tips that you would give estate agents to kind of market their own properties before it hits Rightmove?
Well, before we go into that, I think a lot of estate agents out there, to do with the whole hating Rightmove thing, there's a lot of ideas to do with, like, the people can't get over it, right? It's like 25, 26 years of brand equity built up in Rightmove. And it's also because that Rightmove consolidated in the tech boom, the .com boom years ago. It's basically like the Amazon.com of the UK property market. I think, as you said, it's very important. And it props up a lot of property sales in the UK. I think that obviously people are dependent on Rightmove. A lot of people still move home, whether a similar numbers of people move home, whether Rightmove was there or not, whether property portals was there or not. But the whole thing is a dependence, and that's why people hate it. I think 80% of estate agents, when that little Rightmove care package comes through of your pens and your stickers, I think they should get bigger stickers and put them on the side of the car, because I don't think they'd be driving the Range Rover, the BMW without Rightmove in today's market. I think a lot of people, it's made it easy for people and been very dependent on it. And that's why, as you guys say, beat the portals is so important to you, and the pre-launch stuff is so important. And if you are doing that, then you're not going to. I've never heard anybody that's really, proactive with their marketing, their property market in particular, really complain too much about the portals. It's always the people that are way too dependent on it, because Rightmove is the most important thing in their business. And if whether it's a 20% fee increase, or whether it's a 200% fee increase, they're going to have to pay it.
Yeah, it's interesting because the thought of agents, and if Rightmove just wasn't in existence, or Zoopla, or On the Market, or any of the other kind of more pissy ones, what would happen to estate agents, do you think? Like, just the next day?
I think they'd shit themselves.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of agents would be like, oh my God, what do we do?
Yeah.
And they'd probably just go to the next best thing. They'd go to the Zoopla or to the On the Market if Rightmove were no longer in existence. If they weren't, there'd be a lot of agents there who were like, right, how do we sell houses? And I agree with you, James. Rightmove, at the end of the day, serves a purpose for the end user. The end user might not be Rightmove's consumer, and that's probably where they struggle a lot, but the end user, the house buyer, wants to go to one place to find all of the properties, and Rightmove basically does that.
It does. Yeah.
But what do you think agents should be doing before they go on to Rightmove to try and make sure they're not quite as reliant? You say about launch them on socials. What are the best agents, that 10% of agents that you talk about, those world-class agents that are launching to socials first? What does that look like, and how does that look different to the 90%?
So this is an interesting question, because I've just put a pre-launch protocol together for my clients. I'll walk you through that. So you want a few things on social media first. First of all, you want to be able to build the audience on social media, because all social media is, it's just the middle ground where all of your market is. It's the easiest, fastest, most cost-effective way to get something out there, whether it's a property, it's you, it's a hobby, it's your business, whatever it is. That's the place to go and reach all those people and build real-life brand equity in you and what you do in people's brains. Like you guys, even when you switch your social media around, you came back on social media very quickly, like you never left, because the avocado brand and Beat the Portals too have been built into people's brains off the back of social media. So first of all, people need to grow their audience, right? Mm-hmm. And the easiest way to do that is to run quick Facebook ads and Facebook and Instagram ads on both platforms to say, follow us to these properties before they hit the market. Obviously, the engagement is very powerful, but the fear of missing out is also very powerful, and it gives people a reason to follow your estate agency, and you just don't look like everybody else. So aside from just listings and sold properties and maybe some blog posts, it's not just the same old, same old. There's a reason to engage with you and check back in with you, tag their friends, etc., share your content, and all these kind of engagements in the algorithm are really important, and then you're going to get a lot more organic reach and local reach for free off the back of that. So the first thing is building that audience and giving people a reason to follow you, because then when you pre-launch your property to that audience, you're making good on that promise, and you've already got a high intent audience of potential buyers and sellers, just home movers in general, and people that know them all following you anyway and looking for that kind of content. So with the pre-launch stuff, I'd say take a quick picture of the property. Outside of it, you see the full property in the view. Put it on your story, put a story poll on there on Instagram and Facebook. You can click on the stickers on there. There's an option. You can put a poll on there. Don't give the price away. Say, this is coming soon, such and such a street in the text. Would you buy this property or would you move here? Yes, no. Anybody that says yes, message them. And you say, look, were you just curious or do you want more info on this property? You could potentially open up a few conversations with buyers there. I'd say also do a very similar thing with your Reels video. Get a tripod. If you don't have one, it's like 20 quid on Amazon. Get a microphone, another 20 quid on Amazon. Very easy to do. Set up outside the property, bottom of the driveway perhaps, or maybe on a balcony if it's like an apartment with a nice view, for example. Portrait, so it's a Reels video. Just stand outside of it and just say, look, I've got this property coming soon. It's on such and such a street. It's a 3-bed detached house, 2 bathrooms, really large garden, close to local schools, whatever it is. But don't give the price away and just say, get in touch with us for the price and more information and for viewing availability so you can get in front of all the rest of the buyers from Rightmove 14 days from now when we launch. And those are 2 things initially to give to that audience to start to open up buying conversations. So those are the first 2 things to do as soon as you get the instruction. I'd say off the back of that, you want to share it all into local Facebook groups on Facebook, get a lot more local reach. You're going to get thousands of views there typically completely for free. You're going to get people talking, and it's always good feedback to go back to the vendor and say, well, look, we signed you up like 3 days ago. We've not even got the photos yet, but we've been seen 5,000 times on social media, on Facebook, 1,000 times by our audience on Instagram, and we've had 5 inquiries already. Can we bring them around this weekend? And we'll launch into the portals this weekend or next weekend, wherever it is, so we can create that urgency with those people, potentially get an offer. And then, of course, when you launch it, you can create an ad campaign around it on social media. You can put the full photos out there, the full property video. You can put it on the portals. But the point is that you've already been proactive. The vendor sees how proactive you are. You've already got a win for that vendor, and you've potentially already started off buying conversations. And they know it's not on the market yet, so there's urgency with those buyers. And the buyers that come when it does go on the market properly, there's urgency there because you've already got an offer. That is the best, I would say, pre-launch protocol you could use within social media for your estate agency. And if you do that every time out of habit, over time it's going to work better and better and better. And of course, you're going to fill your database as well with some really good prospects.
As a blueprint goes,
Yeah.
you know,
Pretty solid.
you've just basically, there's your value, 2 minutes of listening to the podcast, you know, take that bit, look at the transcript and
Right, well,
kind of
we don't know,
copy and paste it, we completed it. But let me translate that from marketing language
for it, yeah.
to estate agency language as well. So 3 takeaways for people to think about is getting your audience, getting your brand awareness, just having touch points out there. And just the more that you put out there with your brand, with your individuality of your personal brand or your company brand, showing what you do as an agent on social media, the better it is for the brand. So
Of course, yeah.
step 1, doing that. And if that steps further into an ad campaign and running some paid rather than just organic, then fantastic. Step 2 that you spoke about there was trying to use the story and trying to funnel people from this off-market property into their own database. And like rule number 1 of any marketing outside of estate agencies, build your list is what
Of course
they
it is,
say.
yeah.
Build your
Yeah.
email list, which for us is build our buyer registration effectively. So it's a great piece of advice there as well, because that's the way that we get the buyers and the sellers, sometimes they're the same thing, away from just general portal traffic, but into our own CRM as our own contact, our own data. That's the real value that you spoke about there. But I want to touch on the conversational thing, because this is something when you came down to the avocado group meet that you shared with the group, and I really appreciated you doing that. And some of the guys and girls have taken it away and used it, and it has worked better than I thought it would do. And I actually used it on LinkedIn with agents as well on a poll. But let's just talk through that, because it's such a great, easy way to get conversation going. And I'm not talking about banging the phones out for 2 hours, Foxton style, just more DMs and conversational stuff within the socials. So you got a story, you put a poll, would you be interested in knowing more about this property, or, guess the price or whatever. What you get then is just a real soft process of people feeling comfortable enough to engage in the story, really, don't you?
What they're doing there is, off the back of the audience you're building, is getting people to just, and give them plenty of options to raise their hand. You could do it with valuations. Okay, I've just sold this property on this street for 5% above the asking price. I've got 3 other buyers. Do you know anybody in this area that's looking to move home? And then potentially, if your audience is big enough, you could get valuation opportunities. Or, we just sold this property on this street for a record price now. Some areas, not all, but some areas in the UK, that is happening, and start to build up that interest. And it's just about getting people to raise their hands, basically, in like a soft sell kind of way. And you can isolate them on social media, you can see them there, and you can just message them and start off that conversation. It's like when, go back to the ad to build the audience. On Instagram, you can message people straight away before they engage with you. Facebook pages are a little bit different. They have to kind of message you first. But Instagram, if you just say we're going to put all our properties on Instagram before they go on Rightmove, film a quick video, you could get followers like 20p. You could just boost the post out there. It doesn't have to be a complex ad campaign. You could get, put it on £5 a day. You could get dozens of followers every day, right? Locally to you. You could just message all of them. 95% of them are not going to apply to you, but you could just say, look, I know you're following me. It's a great place to be. I'm going to put all my properties here before Rightmove, so you're going to see them first. In the meantime, is there anything property related that I could help you with? Most people aren't going to care. But even the ones that don't reply to you, the ones that do reply to you, okay, you've registered a buyer, or you've got a valuation with a potential seller, or someone that's on the market and struggling to sell their current property with the agent. But the ones that see it and don't reply to it, you've still had a brand touch point.
Yeah.
You're still building brand equity in yourself and what you do because you've been proactive. As soon as they followed you, they've had a touch point with you, a real life touch point with a person behind it, saying, look, can I help you, basically? And that doesn't go unnoticed. Even if people don't engage with it, they don't reply, it doesn't go unnoticed by people.
Yeah, just if you think about estate agents that are on socials, let's say the average estate agent's got 1,000 followers on Instagram, for example, I would be stunned if there's any agents listening or watching, and I include myself in that have actually DM'd those 1,000 followers. But it is like a little social media database, really, isn't it? They showed an interest to kind of follow your page for the reasons that you've said, but we sort of don't communicate with them because we're waiting for the website valuation to come in.
Yeah, social's changed, I suppose, from when we started, and it is now a lot more about those personal messages, and everyone does it. You send your mates the reel, you send your missus the reel, she sends you about 5,000 reels telling you the type of husband that you should be. Anyway, another story, but that whole messaging part has really developed on social, and it's a very good point. I'm sat here thinking, why don't we do that? Because we don't do that. But it's a point that agents must have missed out on because of we've always been on social media. We've always put our properties on social media, and therefore we think that's it's that do what you've always done sort of thing. But do you see a lot of success with clients that are really getting involved and using that messaging part of the apps for valuations, or even just for sales?
Yeah, it takes time. It depends on the audience, right? Like a lot of agents that come and work with me is basically they're already getting a few valuations a month out of social media. They've sold a few properties from social media. The audience is proven, and now they want to take it a step further.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it's a case of, okay, you start to message people. We could also, I'm not too sure if I should say it too loudly, but we can also use Rightmove to grow Instagram followers. If you put in your property description on Rightmove, see if they allow it or not, to inquire about this property, follow me on Instagram or reach out to me on Instagram and just put your handle on there. And then, of course, you can start to message those people, right? You can grow your audience further, because what a lot of people have is that they grow organically, and maybe it starts to show some traction. They get evaluation here and there every month, a couple of viewings, for example. But it's like they're not pulling in followers from all the places they could be. There's no ad campaigns to grow the following, etc. There's no ad campaigns to retarget that following. If you sold a bunch of properties this month, you want everybody in that following that's seeing your content to be seeing more of it more consistently and seeing you in the best light. So it's like with those agents, it's more a case of, okay, you've already done this by yourself. You are good at content. You've proven what you do works. You've got a proven audience there. But now you need basically just need to open up more kind of buckets to catch the leads off the back of it and open up more opportunities for people. Yes, DMing people is one of those things. But again, 95% of people initially are not going to respond to you. And it's more like they're going to watch your stories and they might engage at some point over time. It's not like the number one thing to do, but it's definitely, it could take 5 minutes every day. And if that gets you a valuation a week, that's nothing, right? Yeah. But it's just one of those smaller little things that people can do that is very effective over time and is very good to open up conversations.
And it'd be interesting to see if Rightmove would pick up that you'd put your Instagram handle on there. I honestly don't know the answer to that. But you can link your Instagram Reel videos to there, or your YouTube channel, and drive the traffic from Rightmove to somewhere else if you wanted to.
I know agents breaking all kind of rules of Rightmove. I mean, I'm not going to out them here, but
I think with Rightmove, it is very much a case of you can get away with what you can until they give you a warning, and then you've got to take it down.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty much how it works. It depends how big you are. Depending,
it does.
If Connells decided to do something against the rules, then potentially Rightmove will pick up on that a little bit quicker than they would do with the little independent, sat in a little village office somewhere. I think it depends on the size. Some great tips and hacks there, and I think people got value instantly. What do you think with Instagram in particular? Because I feel Instagram is the platform that's the real one that if you get that right, that seems to be where the homeowner generation that gets this side of things are. I think that's the place where if you look at kind of, I don't know, late 20s up to 50s, maybe 55, Instagram is where it's at for that type of thing. So what's next? There's a lot of talk with Google side of things and SEO related stuff on Instagram at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Instagram now is that, so if you understand search engine optimization, which is basically keywords that people search for, they search the same things they search for in Google, they search for on social media, right? So the biggest one in everyone's area typically is properties for sale in Sheffield, properties for sale in Coventry, wherever it is, right? Though that's like the highest volume search term related to property, or estate agents near me, or estate agents in this area, for example. So those kind of things, I mean, you can just type that into Google, top Google keywords for an estate agent, or you can just ask ChatGPT and it will tell you. So you can get all those, but it's just a case of layering those into your videos when you're talking, layering those into your captions when you write it, potentially in hashtags. Hashtags don't really work that well for reach anymore on social media. They're kind of redundant, but because it still looks quite natural on social media, it's something that people are used to seeing, you don't have to put any specific hashtags to try and reach people. You can just use it to get these keywords in there if you couldn't fit it in nice and easy in your video when you're saying it or in your caption. Because what happens there now is that, this was from the 10th of July, so not too long ago, what's happening is that when you search in Google for stuff, things are coming up, your social media posts on Google. So when it says short form videos, your Instagram Reels videos will be on there, your Facebook videos, your TikTok videos in particular, they'll all be on there as long as it's optimized for your area. For example, I had an agent that had a penthouse for sale in Rickmansworth, just outside of London. I mean, it's not a massive area and there's not loads of penthouses for sale in there, but they did a very simple Facebook post talking about this penthouse for sale in this area, and that was constantly reiterated throughout. And then when you search penthouse Rickmansworth in Google, if you were searching for those kind of properties or apartments in Rickmansworth in Google, just under Rightmove, the Rightmove links for properties, their Facebook video comes up because of how well worded it was in regards to those kind of keywords. And it's the case of, if you look at Rickmansworth and estate agents in Rickmansworth, and you look at the short videos, you look at the what people are saying kind of options on Google, it's just all their content basically, because they were so on it with the local keywords and just talk about the area, talk about the properties for sale, properties that they've sold in this area, etc. So when you search any of that kind of content in Google, you look at the short videos, you look at the forums, you look at what people are saying, it's them that come up. So it's like you could pay a lot of money out for SEO, and obviously you need to optimize your website, you need to optimize your Google My Business. But before any of that, for free on social media, if you just say the right things, you will appear in Google too, which is massive to grow your following, massive to get more reach. If you talk about a 3-bedroom terraced house you've got coming for sale in this area, and that's ranked high in Google, imagine how much reach you're going to get on the Instagram video of that property coming soon with the pre-launch stuff we just talked about, if it's in Google as well, and it appears next to all the kind of 3-bedroom terrace listings and the Rightmove links that come up too. That's how the world works now.
Yeah, it's powerful. We had a guest on previously, Rowan from Property Pen, and he was talking about AEO, answer engine optimization, being the kind, and I think he recently wrote a blog on it as well, but really talking about that reach, because previously it was YouTube, website, really, if you were tapping something into Facebook, that was pretty much what was coming up, or Company's House. Whereas now, having those different social handles in there, you can be a real dominant factor if you are estate agents in Bracknell or wherever you
can be, for sure.
Yeah, you can be a real dominance if you get that phrasing right. And with the use of AI, this is where AI becomes an asset to us rather than something that people should fear, is you can optimize that text that you're using way better by just some simple asking of questions to chat if you want to just use it that way. And that will really help with, over a period of time, how much you show on Google, effectively, is what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the thing as well with people talk about ChatGPT search now. Will it be Rightmove? I mean, all ChatGPT search is just it searches the web. So as long as you've optimized for visibility across social media, across your website, your Google My Business profile, your Rightmove descriptions, you're going to come up first in ChatGPT. So it's not like some special amazing thing. It just taps into what's out there. And as long as you optimize everything else and done all the things you know you should be doing across the board in your business marketing for your estate agency, you're also going to rank high in ChatGPT search too, and so your properties. So you're going to be covered there as well.
Yeah.
So this is a new thing that Google are now searching social and rewarding you if you're hitting the SEO terms would normally push to the website through Google. You're talking about ChatGPT. We're going into an era where people are going to be using ChatGPT to search probably more than Google. Okay, we might be talking, 5 years into the future or what have you. What do you think that looks like, and what do you think agents can do now to try and set themselves up for success in that sort of new world, say 5 years away?
So I have a very different opinion to most people on that. And it's a similar thing with, because everyone's talking about ChatGPT, there's a lot of things to do with AI in a stage agency now, a lot of conferences about that, a lot of opinions, a lot of kind of ideas and these kind of things. And it's like, the big problem is with that is going back to the Rightmove and the dependency on Rightmove. It's a dependency problem. And even if you got rid of Rightmove, your dependency is going to be the Zoopla on the market problem. If you got rid of them, it's going to be ChatGPT search problem. If you got rid of them and it was purely just a stage direct to consumer, yes, the same amount of people would move home. I'm told this all the time when I say you can beat Rightmove, whatever. The same amount of people would move home, but would they move home with your estate agency, or will they move home with the likes of Avocado or somebody else out there because you're the most visible? And this is the thing that where all this problem stem from, is the dependency and the lack of proactiveness to actually understand new market, new tech, etc., but not be reliant on a third party. Because you're going to have OpenAI is one of the biggest companies in the world. They're building the next infrastructures and AI the world is going to rely on. You're not going to everyone's kind of looking at ChatGPT search to come and save them from the Rightmove problem. It's just going to be a ChatGPT problem, right? It's going to be the same stuff. Is that you need to make sure that your business uses all these channels to be independent. You've got a really good lead flow from everywhere. You've got the right back-end systems to nurture it. Otherwise, 25 years ago when Rightmove just consolidated the tech boom at the time, agents didn't really understand it, and they were like, okay, you're going to do it for free. You've got the most listings because you went to the corporates. Well, we just give it to you then. So they handed over, and I'm not fully understanding the moment in time they were in, all the brand equity in themselves that you've got to rebuild now through social media, direct to consumer, etc. They just gave it all up to Rightmove. And now 25 years, we have this problem where they just say, in the industry press a couple of years ago, by 2028, we want our fees to go from 1,600 quid a month plus VAT to 2,500 quid a month plus VAT. And then nobody really batted an eyelid. And then you get a 20% increase in fees a couple of years later, and everyone's in uproar about it. Talk about trade standards. You've got people that are millionaires complaining about Rightmove. So you've got the money to do something about it. Or if you're in business in a stage agency, you've been there for a long enough time, you have the leverage in terms of listings and I guess partly brand awareness to tap into that with content and be more visible. That's why I like social media so much. I mean, yes, AI is going to be important, but you need to understand how AI is going to work for your estate agency. Not just about ChatGPT search. Can you make an AI search for your area with your own large language model? What is a large language model? These are the questions people need to be asking, and specifically how this tech can be used for their business. Otherwise, with the .com and the search era, you're going to have the same problem with AI companies, that probably somebody from outside of a estate agency that makes this kind of stuff. They don't really care about your estate agency too much. It's more about the money and the profits and the opportunity there. Or Rightmove themselves, if they have to innovate, because they're not stupid, right? There's so many issues with Rightmove and there's so many avenues and angles to take it down. But I think it's a bit of a flawed perspective with that because, okay, yes, you can ring a fence to stuff around you on social media because it's straight to people's brains and you can build that brand equity in real life. That's the key thing. It's not really about Facebook ad tricks that are going to get you all the valuations all the time. It's not about content and video as such. It's about all these things. They're tactics you can use, but it's about building that brand equity and that engagement with yourself and your business. That's why I like social media. But the whole thing about the Rightmove thing and the avenues with ChatGPT search to take down Rightmove is that it's only there because Rightmove doesn't innovate, because they don't have to innovate, because nobody else properly innovates. But as soon as they're pushed to do so, they don't want to lose shareholder value, so they would innovate. And as the moment ChatGPT search with properties becomes major, Rightmove obviously have these, I'm sure they would have these ideas already. They'll just spend the money to have it on their platform, and they already have that brand. So whatever you do to kind of do that, or ChatGPT search, whatever it is, if you're reliant on more third parties, in the end, you will still end up with the same reliance on Rightmove. So I don't think it's going to change too much. It's just that the tech and the way we search will change, but the same kind of companies will still be there, just in a slightly different kind of way. Although, and if you don't understand it fully for your business and your estate agency and how you could build this into your business and become independent of other things, I think people are going to have the same issue with ChatGPT or whoever else it is at some point that they have with Rightmove and dependency on other companies. I think that's the overall problem, and everything we talk about is just kind of symptoms of those problems.
And it all goes back to what we said initially about trying to make sure that when you are listing properties, that the buyers that are interested live in that moment that you don't have registered, you're getting them back into your database so that you can work with them, because those buyers can be sellers, they can be other things, they can be future sellers, they can be future buyers, they could be a future investor. But getting the data into your database and then nurturing it and using it efficiently, that's really the key for estate agents here. Because like you say with Rightmove, it must be on their roadmap and in development for just the search page on Rightmove, with the drop downs.
Yeah.
That surely within a year's time just isn't going to look like that. It's just going to be one line, one AI typed question, like it is on nearly any other search website that you see these days. Rightmove will have that in.
Of course it will do, yeah. Of course it will, yeah.
And that is AI in Rightmove then. And then, we're back to where we've always been, really. Cause
exactly, yeah.
It's just that simple to create now.
But they've got, again, this is the Rightmove problem is created by estate agents themselves. Of course, it's good to have one place to go to see all the properties for sale in a whole country, right? That's needed and necessary. But everybody just didn't understand that. This is the same tech boom with AI that we had with the .com boom. It's just that everybody didn't understand it, so they just gave up the Rightmove. Everybody don't understand it. Suppliers don't understand it really as well for the most part. So they're talking about ChatGPT and Gemini and these things, but they exist outside of your estate agency. I think it's more about building these infrastructures, your brand on social media that generates leads, making sure you're seeing optimizing Google properly generates leads, having the database behind the scenes that nurtures everybody, creates that digital experience for people, so people are constantly engaged in your funnel, in your brand. It's about building those infrastructures, and everybody that has those, or the best agents that have those, aren't reliant on anything. You're still on all the platforms, you're still on Rightmove, you still use ChatGPT, etc. You still want to be seen in AI search, but you're not dependent on these things because your brand, for the most part, is what people want to engage with, and that's really what it comes down to.
Taking all that into account, if you were opening James Cocker Estate Agents now, what does it look like?
I was going to ask exactly the same question. It's like we know what's going on. Go on then.
Okay. So if I was going to do that, I think the first thing that I would do is I would try and prospect stock that's currently on the market. I think that I would, within kind of 2 or 3 months, get the basic Rightmove package. But more than anything, I would just try and be filming property videos of properties that were already on the market with other estate agents, just do a multi-agency thing with them, just say, look, I'll just get out on social media. I'll put, whatever my Rightmove fees would be. I wouldn't go on Zoopla on the market because they've got, 15% of the market share. I can beat Zoopla on the market with social media inside of 30 days. I know I can easily. I had this argument with their chief operating officer on LinkedIn, actually. He wasn't very happy about that one. But that's their problem, right? That's the whole issue there. But you can beat that in terms of all the engagement, the clicks, etc., views on social media with not very much money on Facebook and Instagram ads. So I would spend that money for the first 2-3 months on, properties I've gone into, door knocks and stuff, and they've not been sold for like 3 months, it's slightly overpriced. Whatever price point I get it on with me at, even if it's with multi-agency with another agent, I'd still take it because I don't really have to invest too much money into it as such. It's great brand awareness for me. I know I could start to build up that audience, that brand equity, get into local Facebook groups, start the conversations on Instagram, and get a lot of visibility on those properties. And even if I don't sell them, I can still say to those vendors, look, your listings are some of the most visible listings in the market right now, and I'm still doing more for you than these other agents are. So if I got it on myself permanently, adjusted the price point, etc., and then I go on Rightmove afterwards, after like 2 or 3 months of doing this, I've already got leverage, I've already got listings, I've already got leads, I've already been seen to be proactive in the market, and I've made my entrance points there straight away, right, with a bit of money spent on social media and just being creative about how I'm going to do this marketing. And all of a sudden people are seeing me, they're seeing that I've got listings, no matter what the agreement is with them as such. The vendors appreciate me because even if we're not selling those properties with me or the other agent, there's still a lot of activity going on that I brought to the table there, right? And then once they come on with me full time and stuff, then I've got to actually put a property strategy together with the portals and the overall stuff. Then I just start to invest that money into the portals and the CRM and all that kind of stuff. That's how I'd make the entrance for the first kind of 8 to 12 weeks initially, yeah.
So if let's say you're a self-employed agent, and because I think self-employed agents can be a bit more creative with this, what I'm thinking here and what I'm sort of hearing from you there is you launch a new agent, but you haven't got the content directly. You haven't got the property content, have you? Because you need to get listings on the market. I know the same will apply to a traditional agent, but they're probably a bit more precious about promoting other competing agents' listings. But if I'm Ian, the self-employed agent, any brokerage, to go out there and go, right, let's look in my marketplace what I believe the top 10 sellers are, which we would know as an agent, regardless of what agent they're on with, and then go around and film out the front of those particular properties and just say, look, this is my top 10 list for said area. We're in Coventry, so we say Coventry, and just create the content to show you it's on at X price. This is why I think it's a good property. This is why I think buyers will buy it. There's not really any harm in that. You don't even need to say who it's on the market with. You could say who it's on the market with if you wanted to, but you could just go there as a agent showing property content. That's a great way to get the right stuff on your socials and your brand identity and your sort of your brand connection with your audience straight away.
Yeah, straight away. I think one thing that I'm running with an agent that's just launched their business too is they've got a lot of content around register your search with us. And then they're going to send out those property searches, the direct mail letters to on the market or off market stock and generate valuations from there. That's quite effective too. So there's always that angle you could go down for lead generation straight away, is that register your search with me. I'll help you to find more properties that you may not be able to access out there on the portals as such. We'll be very proactive about it. You may get the sales side of the business from that potential client off the back of that, but also you're probably going to open up a lot more valuations with people, potentially do some off market sales or just get more properties on the market too.
Don't mention letters to Ian, he'll internally combust. But that's a really good point, and I don't think as agents we've done that particularly well. And this comes down a little bit to the right move reliance point, that actually, if you're starting as an agency, clean slate, you can go and build your audience, as you've said a couple of times during today's episode, but actually you can also leverage the clients that you are engaged with to try and generate some houses, because when you get really busy, typically estate agents are focused on the houses they've got and selling those, and they're not necessarily thinking, right, I've got this hot buyer in the terms of proceedable buyer, nothing to do with mortgages. You've got this hot buyer and you're going to say, right, how can we find them a house that might not already be on the market? And that hot buyer is then gives a show-stopping offer to do it. So do you think agents, when they get busy, lose sight of some of these things that we talk about that you do in the early days to generate and build a successful business?
Yeah, I think in general overall is that it's quite a reactive business rather than a proactive thing, and it's very difficult at times if you've not done something before, like filming property videos or making time for social media content. If you don't do that quite early on, or block out the time properly to say we're going to do it this way, it can be quite difficult to start to add that in. Like I was having a conversation with an agent, this again another new agent, they've got everything. They've gone for the full setup, they're a great business, got a great service, have made a decent headway into their market inside of 1 month, but it's like with the content, it's very difficult to find time, especially with a new business, to get it right. But I was telling him, look, it's not going to get easier at some point. It's not like when you've sold your current stock and maybe you've got over the launch initially, the first kind of 2 or 3 months, then you've got time for content, or when you hire this person, like there's always going to be more things as you grow the business too. That kind of chaos isn't going to stop, so you need to get in the habit now, block out time every week, twice a week, whatever, to get this content filmed. And then of course you can build a brand on social media, you can have the visibility, but also it's an underlying thing within the business that this is what you do and this is how you do it, and you kind of do it in the end without thinking about it.
And I got a question. So it's very clear from this episode and my conversations with you that from a marketing and in particular from a lead generating point of view through socials, you're very skilled, knowledgeable. It's obviously your passion. It's what you spend every working day kind of understanding. Why estate agency? From a marketing point of view, without the estate agency link, often it's, I was an estate agent and then I found this work, so I've done this now. But for you, it's different. So I'm just interested, why estate agency?
Easy targets, man.
Yeah, we think we're out to market, right?
Well, listen, all it was for me is at the time. So I'd done, when I was I think 19, I started a business, but I'd done a lot of social media stuff. I've done a lot of door-to-door sales, part-time, different things. I had an Instagram side hustle when I was in college and started to earn a few £100 a month from that, learning about content, what works, how to tap into a niche and different things. This is when Instagram was very, very simple without all the stuff on it today. But it's still about just good content, right? And understanding what people want and what makes people engage. And that's always what I look at for the most part. It's just consumer behavior and what they interact with the most and just apply it back to a estate agency. Mm-hmm. But it was like when I was cold calling local businesses, trying to sell them on social media, a lot of them have very small budgets, and there isn't always an urgency to invest in stuff and in more marketing and stuff, right? So I got a few clients, but it was difficult to open up those comments, especially cold. Like they didn't already know who I was. I just called them or walked in kind of thing and asked to speak to the owner of the venue, wherever it was. There's a lot of restaurants, to be fair, but it was like, okay, estate agents actually always need new leads. Once you sold a property, you need to sell another one, right? It's basically just just like that. So it's like, I'm a sales and marketing based person. They're sales and marketing based people. There's more of an affinity, but also they have an urgency. I don't need to create it in the sales conversation. But that's why I went on LinkedIn as well, because I knew how to create content, tap into an audience, and it was way better than calling like hundreds of agents and pressing 1 for sales and 2 for lettings and just not speaking to anybody. So that's where I appeared. Yeah, that's where I came from.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And you had a lot of fun doing like MOTs live on Facebook for
earlier this year, yeah.
for Instagram. You know, did that surprise you how strong or weak the industry was as an average?
Initially, from years ago?
You just generally when you were doing it, you were kind of just picking out different Instagram handles, and you were
earlier this year, yeah.
You were really giving a lot of value away and saying this is what I would do differently with this.
Yeah.
Did it surprise you kind of, you know, how accessible it is to get educated on Instagram, Facebook these days? You know, what the industry was like? Because some of you were complimenting, you know, really nicely, but a lot of them were from an actual landing page, from what we would call a shop window. You know, for estate agents, it's like we're used to be obsessed about our window cards and how things look. But Instagram, like we're just a bit slapdash with it. Did it surprise you, that part of it?
No, because I'd been in the industry for like 6 years at that point, so I already knew. And I guess for me, I had a plan just across the board in life this year based on what I wanted to get to towards the end of this year and the position I wanted to be in. But that was part of it, because I've been here for a few years now. Like, I'm not really new to this inside of a estate agency. I've had moments in time where I've had a lot of traction myself on social media, had moments in time where I haven't done, and now I'm starting to break the mainstream inside of the industry. But it's just a case of just a lot of the stuff I see out there, marketing information, is just the same stuff that I was seeing years ago. The feedback from estate agents I was talking to on a weekly basis that had used these different things out there, this isn't as good as maybe it seems. And it's very much like, this is the problem, is that I knew, like, this isn't the thing in the social media game, having been in it, like, purely just social media for social media's sake. If you're not ahead of the game and you can't point to the evidence that you are, you can rest assured that the game has moved past you. And it's the same thing with AI, but that's like, rather than every few months, it's every week now, right? And I just think that, okay, estate agencies are a great business and a great industry to be in, and there's some great people here. But it's just a case of, I think that a lot of this stuff out there, a lot of the information, there's nothing new under the sun for 95% of the time with estate agency information. I think the best sales information you're going to get is in the sales world, and exactly where that is. The best social media marketing information. There's people online, they're not difficult to find. They've made 9 figures using Facebook and Google, Instagram ads and YouTube ads to sell products or business services or B2B, B2C, whatever it is, over the last 10 years. They're the best in the game. You can just type it on YouTube. You can find plenty of these people. Like, a lot of people have come off over the years. Their information is obviously, you can apply it, take what you need and apply it back to a local level in a estate agency. It's going to be way better than whatever's inside of a estate agency, right? No offense to anybody, but it's true. And with AI stuff now, it's like, you know, the kind of party tricks with ChatGPT, but it's like, if you really go out there, do the research, find out exactly where the world is, just how fast it's moving, and you try and align yourself with that, you apply back to a estate agency and you realise that actually a lot of the really good information doesn't always exist inside. At times it does, but it doesn't always exist inside of the estate agency industry. It's quite an enclosed, like, tight kind of estate agency industry box that we have in the UK. I noticed that pretty quickly. All the real gold that you want for your business is out there beyond those horizons, and you just need to go and get that. You need to align yourself with that and apply it back to your estate agency, and you'll see just how quickly actually you can start to grow on social media. You can do whatever result it is that you want for your business. That's where the information is.
And time is a big player in that for estate agents.
Of course it is, yeah.
Most estate agents, and I include myself in this, are busy fools. You know, we're running around doing what we're doing, our diary's full.
Reacting.
We're reacting, and we're trying to be proactive, you know, with certain things, but we are very much ram-packed diaries. So to outsource that part of that education, that knowledge to someone like yourself is available in the industry if people take you up on it. And just finally, before we wrap up, you've got a new product that you can probably just tease a little bit on this podcast, you know, that is coming out, that does incorporate AI content and marketing. But without giving the whole game away, kind of just give us the little bite-sized elevator pitch summary of what that looks like.
Essentially, pre-launching properties to social media, just upload the property, everything's there for you, or like the stories, the reels videos, the landing pages, the ads. content for your ideal customers, exactly who your vendors are, getting the Reels content made for you, getting the carousels made for you, etc. Ensuring you rank high in with your social posts, Google search, ChatGPT search, and building the audience off the back of that, and ensuring that you can just build an audience basically as simply as possible, almost in one click on social media, but it's kind of wrapped around your brand, who your ideal customers are, and allowing you to sell properties from social media too, and just making sure it happens in a few clicks, basically.
So it's like
that's what AI can do.
It's like an AI Canva suite for your particular brand.
I wouldn't even say Canva. It's just an overall marketing suite for social media and just selling the properties from there with basically the landing page that you need, the content that you need for your ideal customer, your brand, and the pre-launching the properties, and ensuring that you can just grow that audience, like everything we've talked about today, basically, and just making sure that can happen as quickly and streamlined as possible. Because again, agents don't always have time, but with AI, it understands all this context and information. If you can build an AI that can basically, I think what everybody should be doing in terms of supply right now for estate agents, to be honest, is just making their own AI models that just do everything that they do, but a lot faster and as simple as possible for the consumer. And of course, we also spoke about a little bit about conveyancing and how quickly it can understand context to speed up transactions too. There's a lot of potential with things out there, you know, whether it's marketing, conveyancing, CRMs, whatever it is, right? I just think that, I mean, I sometimes see people, some of the bigger companies in this agency still hiring web developers. And I know people that were at the top of the game in web development, and 2 or 3 years ago, they switched to AI because they knew it was going to wipe them out. And I just think that that's kind of where we are as an industry. We understand these things, but it's like fundamentally, the changes of the world kind of surpass a state agency, right? It's like you don't need more web developers. You need your current web developers to build AI models that can do the web development, right? Just to kind of the backdrop of where the world is and where we are. I think everybody should be making those AI models that automates their process for their customers.
Yeah, totally agree.
Agreed. Yeah, great way to finish. Before we do, James, if people want to reach out for you, is there a social channel that's the preference?
Facebook and LinkedIn, basically. That's pretty much like my shop window. That's where you can find me. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on, James.
Thank you for having me.
A massive thank you once again to James Cocker for joining us today. Value straight from minute one, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that 2-minute clip where I said, if you want 2 minutes, there's your blueprint of launching a property. I mean, yeah, you know, Avocado have got our version of how we do things, but it's not too far away from what he described there, to be fair. And probably what we don't do as well as what he's describing is how to bring the lead generation back into your own database.
Yeah.
And I think that is rule 101 when it comes to marketing is, are you building your own list? Because that's where your value sits. And I think for estate agents, there's so many good talking points on that we could go through. You could almost do another podcast off the back of it, like a workshop, maybe coming to a place near you soon.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it, that sometimes it just takes someone from outside coming in to say, oh, you should do it this way. And as I said when we were interviewing James, that the messaging part of Instagram and Facebook, we don't use it anywhere near it enough. And it goes off on your phone all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes they think, oh, I'll just look at that tomorrow. But actually, that is how people are using, particularly Instagram, more and more now. And we've got to develop with that. And as businesses, we've got to take account of how people are using social media platforms. They talk about social media advertising as being free. It's not. You've got to bring in expertise and you've got to invest a lot of time to actually upskill. But somebody like James, looking from the outside, I think, as you said, can do all of that work and then pick the best bits for you to launch into your business.
Yeah, nothing's free with marketing. It's either time or money. And it's just, what have you got to play with?
Yeah.
You know, you need to do it. If you don't do it, you're going to have no business. So are you going to do it because you're a startup and put all the time and energy into it? Or are you rocking and rolling, but you know you need to do it? Well, then you need to invest the cash into the expertise and save on the time, or somewhere in the middle if you're kind of, you know, just in that hamster wheel. So yeah, that's where you've got an episode like this that you can listen to. You can get some instant traction, bite-sized takeaways like me and you have. We're fortunate enough to do this, that we do get to do that. And then you've also got someone that you could reach out to, like a James, if you want to, and use his services, basically. So it makes sense.
And it's the modern day, probably, of about 50 years ago for sale boards now, isn't it? Social media and the pre-launch strategy that he talked about there is just the way to leverage your existing listings to get more listings. Yeah. You know, people say boards breed boards. Well, we know that that's now not just the board presence, and your Rightmove listing, which we talked about in depth, isn't really going to do that. But a social media strategy, and particularly a pre-launch strategy in the using the methodology that he talked, will generate you more listings, because you're speaking to people who will be impressed by that sort of thing, because that's what they're appealed for. And from a seller's perspective, we're recording this now the day after Panorama came out. From the seller's perspective, if we're doing it that way, we're making sure that we're generating them the best price. And you run that campaign in line with a pre-launch strategy. Go to market if you need to in terms of the portals. Otherwise, it'll take a show-stopping offer to stop it going onto the market. Is probably how a lot of agencies will play it in that sort of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was talking about brand awareness and, like you say, investing in the marketing side of things. When we changed our socials over, no one knew that it was new socials, really. They just saw the brand.
Yeah.
So, you can have multiple pages and multiple platforms and multiple things. It all comes together in the client's mind. If you do it right, they just see the footprint of your brand. They don't know what page it came from, or half the time they don't even know where they saw you. It's, I've just seen you on socials.
Yeah.
They don't know where. So by just doing it and getting those good habits in place, it's going to make your agency way, way better. So, yeah, great first episode of the day. 3 more booked in. Let's get rocking and rolling with the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive thank you once again to James for joining us. As you know, we do this show because we love our industry. We want to see it improve and get better. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it out on social. Thank you very much to James. Thank you to Iceberg Digital for sponsoring today's episode. I'm Mark Worrell. He's in Macbeth. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.